All right, we already had plenty of very nice content, and it's not about to stop, since we're going to go to another traditional moment of the symposium and give the voice to the three parties of the tripartite. We'll start with the European Commission, then move to the member states with the steering board, and have Klaus back on stage for the EOSC Association. So without further ado, I'm going to invite the European Commission representative as part of the tripartite, Jean-David Malo, who is Acting Director for ERA and Excellence at the DG for Research and Innovation at the European Commission. Let's give Jean-David an applause.
Thanks a lot. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A real pleasure for me to be here with you. Very impressed by the number of people present, so many partners that are here together, so many partners that are in reality shaping how Europe will share, use and trust its research data. So I'm delighted to be here. Over the years, this conference became, in fact, the meeting place for the EOSC community, a place where we are taking stock of how far we've come, a place where we look together at what lies ahead. And I have to say, being involved at the very, very first days of EOSC years ago, and I remember this famous meeting in an old library in Austria in 2018, where the process was launched, that when you look behind and you look where we are today is just impressive, what we have done, even if a lot remains to be done. Today, I would like to focus in this introductory talk on three things. First, how EOSC has become clearly the cornerstone for Europe research and digital strategy. Second, what we have jointly achieved over the past year. And last but not least, thirdly, how we can ensure a strong, sustainable and impactful EOSC future. It was already said by Marc Lemaitre as well as by Robert in its very inspiring talks, the importance, of course, of the various reports that have been made by Mr. Letta, Mr. Draghi and Mr. Etter. One thing that maybe we should keep in mind is one of their common message, which says clearly that Europe must unblock its data flow. Europe must scale its digital infrastructures, and we have to do it if we want to strengthen and make even more attractive our research and innovation capacity. And it is exactly where EOSC sits in reality, at the intersection of these priorities. It is the bridge between digital transformation and open science, and that is why it continues to be central in our research and innovation and digital policies. Last May, as you know, the Council adopted its recommendation on the ERA policy agenda for 2025-2027. And allow me just to quote one part of this agenda, which identifies efficient data sharing and reuse through EOSC as the first of 11 key policies structuring Europe's research system. In September, the Commission adopted the European Strategy for Research and Technology Infrastructures, and I'm sure that you took very seriously what was mentioned in this key strategy, which is recognizing, in fact, that our infrastructure are a unique asset in Europe on which we must build, a unique asset which is driving scientific excellence, a unique asset which is attracting global talent already today, and which is in reality fueling innovation and has the potential to do even more in the future. These infrastructures, you know, produce vast amounts of reliable data, and this strategy in this context set a clear direction to address a growing challenge, our dependence on database and services hosted outside Europe. It was recalled on numerous occasions in the first part of our event. It's in fact not only about data access. It's also about protecting academic freedom and open inquiry, and about productivity and competitiveness of our research. And this is something that we should really have in our mind when we will think about the future of EOSC that we will discuss right after, but also in the coming days. We must ensure in this context that a European researcher can reproduce, can share, can build on research without undue external constraint. And this is also a role for EOSC to play as a Europe trusted data space for research, enabling the sharing of fair data across countries and disciplines, and unlocking the full potential of digitalization and AI for our infrastructure. This brings me, of course, to the last key policy development, the new European strategy for AI in science. It was mentioned at several occasions also in the first part of our event. Data is the fuel of AI, and EOSC in this context is providing that fuel. The strategy identifies the role of EOSC for pooling high-quality data at scale and linking them with AI initiatives such as the AI factories, and also the proposed resource on AI science in Europe, the so-called RAISE. But how have we come this far in EOSC? And there I would like to insist on what, according to me, is maybe the most important added values that we have, maybe the most important assets that we have. At the heart of the strategic steer of EOSC over the past year lies this mutual collaboration and trust that we have built with the tripartite model. This tripartite model has ensured Commission co-ownership with the countries together, with the driving of EOSC by the stakeholder community, and it counts on active contribution from the members of the EOSC steering board and the partnership with the EOSC association. Through this collaboration, as you know, we have achieved real progress over the past years. Allow me to insist on some of them because the list would be too long. Research community have been supported to mainstream their practices for open science and fair data management. The EOSC stakeholder base has expanded with over 250 association members and many more engaged through EU and national projects. Investment have been mobilized, and for example, activities reported under the partnership are estimated to be more than 4 times larger than the EU direct contribution through Horizon Europe. The adoption of national policies on fair data and open science has increased. And for example, 19 EU member states now have national policies on fair data, according to the EOSC Open Science Observatory. And crucially, we have kick-started the development of the EOSC Federation. And all this started, in fact, just a year ago with the launch of the EOSC EU node during the symposium in Berlin. Today, it serves over 4,000 users who benefit from free services to store and compute data and to collaborate with their peers. But the EU node is much more than this. It's much more than a service platform. It also provides federating capabilities, the glue that connects nodes together, enabling service integration and cross-node networks. And it also stands as a reference node for other organizations to make use and benefit from. Of course, one node does not make a federation. And this is why, following a call for expression of interest last year, in March this year, the Tripartite launched the process to build the EOSC Federation with 13 candidate EOSC nodes volunteering to join this collective effort. This group has made remarkable progress during the past 7 months, including notably identifying priority areas to focus on and forming dedicated working groups, developing scientific and infrastructure use cases to demonstrate cross-node workflows, publishing key reference documents, the Federation Handbook, the EOSC Authentication and Authorization Infrastructure, and the registration framework for EOSC catalogs. This impressive work is preparing the ground for turning the EOSC Federation into production mode. And the process continues. More nodes will join and more data and services will flow into the Federation. Our goal here is crystal clear. Every high-quality and high-value data set or service in Europe should be able to find its place in EOSC. To this end, a new opportunity for organizations to set up EOSC node will open, and you will hear more about it later. But setting up a node is not the only way to contribute to the Federation. EOSC already involves several hundred organizations. It will not be efficient to coordinate several hundred nodes. And instead, EOSC nodes should act as a gateway for communities, and in this way, channeling the services of multiple providers to the Federation. For most organizations, it could be more effective to onboard their resources to an existing node rather than to build one from scratch. And you will see later today concrete examples of services onboarded to the EU node. Now, allow me to say a few words on the support provided by Horizon Europe to support EOSC. Under the EOSC partnership, the Commission has committed a bit less than €500 million, exactly a bit less than 490 million euro under Horizon Europe. We are on this delivering very concretely on this commitment. 34 projects have already been granted, as well as the contract setting up and operating the EOSC EU node. More projects will follow in the 2025 call, which has closed in September. They will add new capacity to strengthen the Federation, to boost AI readiness, to enhance fair data integration, and to support skills development. We are also finalizing the last work program of Horizon Europe 2021-2027. And for the first time, as you know, the draft has been shared in advance, making it very transparent and known for everyone what is in the making on the side of the Commission. And the planned topic in this future work program build on current approaches that have proven to be successful. For example, the cascade funding mechanism to reach out to multiple communities. The topic also make use of novel tools to better align EU and national funds to enlarge and enrich the EOSC Federation. And the topics, finally, are also supporting emerging priorities around secure data sharing, data sovereignty, and valorizing the knowledge asset of EOSC. We have very high ambition for this program to put in place, in fact, the various elements upon which EOSC can take further shape and grow. And in this context, we are counting on all of you, the community, to make the most of it. Now, we should also start to think about the future. The current framework program is coming to an end. We need to set the frame for the long-term sustainability of EOSC. and you can be sure of the strong commitment of the Commission for this. And is not par hasard that in our proposal for the next framework program, Horizon Europe 2028-2034, we have proposed a very ambitious program to reinforce research in Europe and to help reversing, in fact, the innovation gap we are confronted with the other science powerful house in the world. I'm sure you have noted that in this proposal there is a new Pillar 4, and this is a clear political signal that in fact the programs that are under this pillar are absolutely essential if we want to shape a real European research area. It's therefore not par hasard that the research infrastructure, but also the technology infrastructure part, are part of this Pillar 4, with a very significant budget, more or less 4 times the budget that you have today for research infrastructure. And it is, of course, under this part of the framework program proposal that we intend to provide our support to EOSC and to Fair Data Agenda. We will have, if you allow me still a few words, I see that I am over the time. We will have also during, in the context of this framework program, in the preparation of this framework program, to further streamline the landscape of partnership. And this is a dimension that in this context we have to discuss also here. We have to establish a more strategic portfolio of partnership with upfront co-funding to operational activities by all partners, by ensuring that central management of resources is as far as possible secured if we want to have the necessary visibility and predictability for the future. It is over these foundations that we will build our new model. And if you allow me some concluding words about what comes next. Delivering, in fact, on these key issues is calling for, first of all, to complete the build-up phase and turn of the EOSC Federation into production mode, offering value-adding services to the EOSC users. We also need to widen the Federation to include currently underrepresented communities. We need to put the user at the center of our efforts. It was said in the previous roundtable. Many excellent tools and services have been developed by the EOSC community addressing researcher needs. We need to strengthen adoption in this context and to make sure that these resources evolve through user feedback to deliver real benefit. But if you allow me a complementary remark to the previous roundtable, we should also build on providers. I mean, it's typical in the capitalistic economy in which we are living. This is the match of supply and demand. And a number of game-changing tools can also come from the provider themselves. We should also, of course, involve the researchers, as I said, but not only. We should serve the researchers. It should also benefit the data and service provider by pooling resources and building economy of scales beyond what I just said. And we want to see the tangible, efficient gains for these organizations that will allow them to further grow in order to make their value proposition to their community even more attractive. Delivering on this important ambition calls for setting out a model for the overall steering of EOSC that is fit for purpose, exploiting the opportunities provided by the Next Horizon Europe. And in this context, if you allow me to be a bit provocative, we must be bold. We must be ready to let go and to let go of some approaches that no longer serve us, and we have to take decision step forwards. Above all, we must continue to engage in any case with all the EOSC community, researchers, funders, infrastructures, and policymakers. And I think that the success that we have obtained up to now, and on which we should be proud, is due to the involvement of each and every actors with, in particular, this tripartite model that I mentioned in my introductory words. So now is the time to advocate for a strong, sustainable EOSC today and after 2027, and I'm rather sure that all together we will make it happen. Thank you very much.
Now to turn to another party as part of the tripartite, the steering board, with Volker Beckmann, the representative of the French Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Space. Space is a novelty, right, in the name of the ministry. With novelty means that France isn't exactly contributing to putting the average of the lifespan of the research ministers higher than 22 months. Just saying. Volker, over to you.
Thank you. So, of course, today we celebrate the welcoming to the EOSC Federation, and I would like to give a bit the point of view from the member states in this context. So, the steering board combines the representatives of the associated countries and the member states, and it's a commission expert group. So, what we do is what Robert Dijkgraaf also pointed out, we need to align our policies in the different countries. That's a very important work we are doing. We work on policies, we work on opinion papers, and this year we have, of course, two main topics on the agenda for the EOSC steering board. One is the EOSC Federation build-up, and the other one is the EOSC post-27 discussion, and we saw already quite a lot about this in the earlier presentations. So just to mention what we have published since the last meeting we had last year, I just would like to point out the first one, the European Open Science Cloud, as a cornerstone of a fifth freedom for research. That's actually addressing how we as steering board see how EOSC should be developed under FP10. This was before the proposal by the European Commission, so we will have to work on this and update this very soon. What we also do is that we monitor how well we are doing, how EOSC and open science is advancing in Europe, and for this we have this EOSC Observatory, and we launch a survey with our EOSC steering board members, so among all the countries each year. So we have now just finalized this. The report is not out yet, but we have a lot of data in there, which you will then be able to, as usual, be able to access through the EOSC Observatory. And we also have soon some new aspects in this observatory, the country pages, so you can go to your country and you find not only data based on the EOSC steering board survey, but also from other sources, Eurostat, etc., and so on. And this is all then combined and nicely presented for your country, for a country of your interest. So this is then how it looks like. You have the different aspects, open data, open access, open data, citizen science, and so on. And you have the evolution from one year to the next, and you see what policies are in place, and so on. And also a new aspect is the fonts have changed when you change from Keynote to PowerPoint. That's always a risk. So this is very small up there. So this is the resource registry. And in there you find policies, you find best practices from the different countries, and you can, this is an AI-supported tool, you can search then for certain aspects, and you can find answers to your questions if you want to build something in your country, in a European country, around EOSC and open science. So we talk a lot about the EOSC Federation, and this is good because there has been a lot of work. It's really the key element for us now to discuss what EOSC should be. It should be really this web of fair research data and services, and you can launch workflows in there. But be very careful, it's not everything what is EOSC is inside the EOSC Federation. All these points about skills and competences, training, fairization of data, what else do I have? Research data management plans and so on. So this will not be necessarily a note, but this is so essential for bringing EOSC forward. And when your colleagues might ask you, so what has EOSC been doing before they did the federation? Well, we worked a lot on all these points, skills and competences, fairization of data. This is essential, and we have to continue with that, partly inside the federation, but mainly outside, and we shouldn't forget this aspect. So we have now this first wave of nodes, and I'm very happy that so many of you were so willing to engage in that and to spend time and money of your organizations in doing that. And this is, of course, just the beginning. We are going to have the second wave, and I think what is very important was also mentioned by Jean-David. We have to have this onboarding possibility so that you can come with data, with services, and you don't create a node. This is very heavy work, right? But you want to integrate all data, all services which are relevant. So, of course, you need the support at national level in order to guarantee a continuous operation of this federation. It's not enough that we have a partnership or something at the European level. You need this at the national level. That's where your support comes from. That's where your institution gets its guidelines, also what they are supposed to do and where they get their money from. Was also mentioned before, research infrastructures. They are really key for EOSC. These are the large data producers. These are the key actors. They are, so far, this is a bigger community still so far than the EOSC community. We have to convince them, we have to work with them so that they bring in their services, their expertise, and their data into the EOSC. So for this, we have this think tank, the S3 EOSC Task Force, to align strategies and to discuss, and we organize some workshops. We are going to organize another workshop in order to continue with this process. So what does an S3, what does a research infrastructure need and expect from the EOSC, and how can we improve things? And I think this has been very successful in suggesting changes, programs to S3 on one side, to EOSC on the other side, and to the European Commission. So the big discussion, this EOSC post-27 discussion, the second big discussion next to the building of the EOSC Federation. So you saw the presentation of the MFF. This includes a very ambitious framework program proposal, which we should always remember. This is a proposal with these impressive numbers, which I would really like to see happening. It's a proposal, and we have to see how far we get in making this happen. So there's this key question: what structure, governance, and financial model shall be in place for EOSC? And there are several discussions going on in parallel. Unfortunately, we cannot do this one after the other. We have the discussion between the countries and the Commission about the general MFF. So what kind of tools should be in there? Is the overall budget, is this something we can accept? Then there is a discussion about the partnerships in general. This includes partnerships, the institutionalized partnerships like joint undertaking and so on, and it's a competitive process. So we cannot just go and say, we like EOSC and we would like to have EOSC under FP10. We have to explain how this is very vital and more important perhaps than another partnership, because it is competitive. If we say this is important, we also have to rank things. This is especially why you perhaps don't get immediate answers from your ministry on how are you going to support EOSC under FP10, because we have to align this discussion with the other partnerships. There is the key question then, of course, how do we build up the EOSC with the governance and the financing? And there, for us as countries, the key question is how strongly are we willing to fund, because in-kind doesn't count in these partnerships, how willing are we to fund strongly the EOSC? And how willing are we going to be to do this upfront, because we have to provide the decision on the budget before FP10. So there comes your role. This is not a discussion behind doors. The deciders, they are listening to what is needed. So if the communities step up and say, we need EOSC for this reason, for that reason, we are providers, we want to provide our data, our services in this federation, in the EOSC. This is very important because we have to work also a bit on expectation management. It's very easy to say, now we launched the EOSC Federation. It's like in 2018, we said, now we launched the EOSC. Then you go to the deciders and you say, we want support for the EOSC Federation and for the EOSC. And they say, so how many users do you have now in the EOSC Federation? And we have to explain, this is a build-up process. We are not yet there, far from being there. But it's important that we work on that. And I think this is the message you have to carry to your institutions and you have to carry to your ministers or ministries in order to make this happen. Okay, so just to summarize, you will find this all, of course, in the material after. So you can go to this EOSC Open Science Observatory and find all the data there. We work on policies. I would very much point you to this policy, which perhaps we have time to discuss a bit later, on EOSC under FP10. And we have to make the EOSC Federation to grow fast and furious. It's a horrible movie, but it's such a nice quote, fast and furious. Because we have to show that that we are not just going step by step, but this is going faster and faster, and with the onboarding, we are going to really reach all the data, all the services in Europe which are relevant there. We have this S3 EOS think tank, and we have now to discuss governance and financial structure, which is a key discussion now, and we have to provide the recommendations, I think, in spring next year. So because by the end of next year, we have to have everything together, so the timeline is very tight for that. So just to summarize, the role of the EOSC Steering Board for me is really to have this communication link between the communities, the European Commission, and the ministries. So the Steering Board members, they are not deciding the budget of FP10, but they try to convince the ministries to be engaged in the EOSC and be active there. And that's from my side. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Volker. If you want to take a seat, and I'll invite the last party, Klaus. Dr. Mann, President of the EOSC Association, welcome back.
Here's 3 buttons. I think the green one to push to proceed. Okay, that is me. And maybe the next one is more important because it shows what I will be talking about. It's under my control. Okay. It's one of my slides, but it's not the first one, I must admit. This is the first one. Thank you very much. So I will be talking about the achievements of the EOSC Association, and I would like to repeat again and again that EOSC is a socio-technological infrastructure. That is very important. And when I explore and present the achievements of the EOSC Association, it will be related to the 2 dimensions. Before that, I would like to briefly explore a little bit on the 2 dimensions, social infrastructure and technical infrastructure. EOSC as a social infrastructure is the nerve center that enables education, already mentioned by Volker, collaboration and scientific productivity of vibrant and dynamic research communities across Europe. EOSC brings together the expert from the different stakeholder groups. That is important. We have the umbrella of the research performing organizations, we have the e-infrastructures, we have the service providers, we have the funders and others. And all these stakeholder groups contribute with their specific expertise, be it on technologies, standards, or, most important to me, user needs. And we have already learned during the first session, if knowledge is shared, it grows. New knowledge is generated and new insights are created. And these insights address the diverse needs of our community. And the EOSC provides services meeting these diverse and varying needs of the community, in the end, of all of you who are part of the user group of the researchers we are targeting at. The second dimension is the technical infrastructure. EOSC as a technical infrastructure serves as a backbone enabling digital data management for research and innovation to operate reliably and efficiently across Europe. EOSC as a technical infrastructure links together capacities we have in Europe. That was requested by Robert Dijkgraaf during his initial keynote speech. And it connects systems, it connects services, it connects technologies, forming a system of systems. EOSC is not a monolithic system. It connects existing systems we already have across Europe. And this is, again, connecting, linking together capacities in Europe to boost European excellence in research and innovation. And as a system of systems, EOSC can, of course, advance open science practices and help develop a web of fair data in Europe. Now, what are our achievements? As to the social infrastructure, we have hundreds of voluntary experts who are engaged in task forces, opportunity area expert groups, Horizon Europe projects related to EOSC, and they all together form the brain of EOSC. The voluntary experts are, to bring them together, we have established these three different types of collaboration spaces. The task forces address topics such as technical and semantic interoperability. That's important so that the systems of systems provides common languages for the technologies, but also for the semantics in the systems, so they can interoperate and form a system of systems. As to the fair metrics and digital objects, which is another task force, we address issues related to fair necessary to build up a web of fair data across Europe. Other task forces are health data, long-term data retention, and all these task forces produce valuable deliverables, which are important for developing joint policies, joint standards in order to form a system of systems. The 7 opportunity areas we established, opportunity area expert groups is the full name, are a product of voluntary collaboration across the Horizon Europe EOSC projects. Topics addressed include, for example, skills and training, again, or user and resource environments. Now we have these different groups, then the question is how can we bring them together? And for that purpose, EOSC Association has organized and will continue to organize winter schools to foster collaboration within its community. We did it in 2024, we did it in 2025, and the next edition of our winter school will be in France, January next year. The second topic or achievement as to the EOSC as a social infrastructure is the following. Through the voluntary commitment of its experts, EOSC-A, the EOSC Association, has built up a strong sense of shared responsibility and commitment to EOSC. The high number of participants at this symposium demonstrates, in my opinion, the strong commitment of our community, of all of us, of you, to the EOSC. We reported 1.6 billion euros as in-kind contribution to the development of EOSC. That is a great achievement of all of us. As to the technical infrastructure, I can refer to 3 key achievements. The EOSC Association has successfully driven the build-up phase of the EOSC Federation. During the build-up phase, we kicked off together with the Tripartite a launch for applications for the first wave of nodes. We received 121 applications, and the Tripartite selected 13 out of these 121 applications. Now we have 13 candidate nodes plus the EOSC EU node. And the achievement of the EOSC Association is that we have established the support and coordination structures to manage the build-up phase of the EOSC Federation. This includes, for example, the many subgroups we have established, the thematic subgroups, for example, on federated AAI, on cybersecurity, that is another one. And that is a great achievement in the build-up of the EOSC Federation. Another very important achievement, I don't want to list all of them, some have been mentioned by Jean-Pierre Malon earlier, but an important one is the Federation Handbook, because that provides an overview of organizational and operational structures and also technical requirements to join the EOSC federations. The second item on this slide, the EOSC Association is managing the enrollment process for new nodes, positioning them as gateways to the EOSC federations. The call for proposals for second wave nodes will be announced later today. And in that call, we will not only address the enrollment of future nodes, it will also invite those who have offers for resources or services or repositories they want to link to the federation. And to ensure the success, the nodes are positioned as gateways to the federation. And being a gateway means that the resource must connect to a node, which then takes the responsibility for this particular resource, be it a data repository, a service provider, within the federation. Most importantly, also addressed, I think, in the first speech of this session is that we now have to shift from enrollment waves, we had a first wave, a second wave, to a continuous enrollment process. The third achievement relates to the following. The EOSC Association is looking ahead, leading the EOSC Federation into production. Now, what we see here today is not available on the production stage of the EOSC EU node, and we need to work on the transition towards a production-ready EOSC Federation. And this is underway. It will be further discussed to the already mentioned EOSC Winter School 2026. So all in all, I think that was too fast. All in all, I think we can make it happen. We can be proud of what we have achieved in the past with so many voluntary contributions from all of you, from the nodes, from the community. And I'm very confident that EOSC will have a great future. Together, we will make it happen. Thank you very much.
Take a seat as well. I will just give you a few questions. To the three of you, we don't have much time, so we'd have to be, I'll ask you to be brief with your answers. I've got my phone. I'm not trying to be impolite. It's just that I'm looking at Slido. And I'll kick off with the very first question, the most popular one, that is about sustainability of projects. All right? How can sustainability be ensured when participating projects receive funding for only 3 or 4 years and then need to apply to the next calls again? Volker.
So this might not be so popular as an answer, but I think if you, with your organization, you enter into a project and you produce something which you find valuable, it's also your responsibility to make this sustainable within your organization. You cannot expect that this is, at the end of your project, financed immediately by somebody else, commission, member state. That would be my short answer. There are, of course, services which we need in order to go on. We need, of course, your continued engagement. But in order to have this, if you look for this continued support, you have to have this discussion when you write the proposal, when you think of the service. Talk with your deciders, talk with your organization, talk with your ministry, talk with the association.
Good, that was the unpopular answer. Do we have a popular one?
Yeah, I have a different opinion on that. I think when we talk about infrastructures, we have to differentiate between operation and innovation. I'm not aware of any infrastructure which is continuously and sustainably operated based on project funding. To me, that doesn't exist. So we need a continuous funding stream for the operation of an infrastructure, and then we need project funding for the innovation.
Jean-David.
And if you allow me to complete what my distinguished panelists said, it starts with a common vision. politically speaking. We must start by defining where we would like to land, what is our ambition. And in this context, I can only agree that by definition, as far as infrastructures are concerned, you need a certain part of the financing which is secured, because by definition it cannot attract especially finance from the private sector. So on this I fully agree. I also agree that the project dimension is also absolutely needed, because I believe that in this context, to achieve the policy objective, you can do it also via a competition between projects. So it's a mix. But on this, I mean, it will be very important to have a discussion with a bottom-up approach coming from especially the people that you are representing in the association, but also with the member states, if you allow me, also with the associated countries, on where is our ambition and where do we want to land. And this is where, I mean, on the side of the Commission, we will continue to play a role of facilitator in order to make the glue between the various requirements.
All right. Another question, and it's I know it's a topic close to your heart, Jean-David, but maybe I can pick up also your brains about the providers. We've heard the focus on end users and the need to bring providers into play. So how can EOSC attract providers to join by offering them value? Cost reimbursement tools could be one option, but we need more ideas. Suggestions?
Very, very quickly. I mean, as I said very briefly in my speech, too long speech, I recognize.
So your answer now will have to be short.
We have, and it was said also in the first roundtable, we have to build on the various assets that exist in different places, and they are in a number of providers the possibility to make economy of scale by working together. So it's not necessarily via a particular public financing on top of what exists already that you can make a huge difference. It's maybe on ensuring access and sharing information and sharing services among the various, in particular, providers, that we can make more, and where we could allocate, therefore, more public money on other things. It's where, for example, the discussions that you mentioned rightly on S3 and EOSC could play a very key role in this context, because, and we look forward what will emerge from this in this context, because we do believe that we need, in particular in the context of EOSC, the providers and all the necessary providers that exist already in Europe, the ones that everybody knows, but also a number of others. I mean, we are focusing, of course, on the very well-known, and a number of them are there, research infrastructures, but also a number are also in some RTOs, are also in some technology infrastructures that we are targeting now. So as a part of the answer, but it's only a part of the answer, I will bring on this.
Very good. Class, please.
If time allows me, in addition to my position as president of the EOSC Association, I run the world's largest information infrastructure for economics. And why should this infrastructure join the EOSC Association? There are two reasons. Number one, our success is measured by the visibility of the content we provide. Currently, we have great visibility in Germany and neighboring countries, but not really worldwide. Joining the EOSC Federation is a strong incentive for us to make our content more visible across Europe. That is number one. Secondly, we are observing that in economics, and that might also be the case in other scientific disciplines, the scientific research questions change. You cannot answer the research questions with data from one discipline only. You need access to data repositories from other disciplines. And how can that be offered? Again, through the EOSC Federation. This is another incentive for providers to join the EOSC Federation and the EOSC Association.
Very good. Volker, I have a question specifically for you, actually, for the steering board perspective. So you mentioned that you're not the decision maker on the FP10 budget, right? And what would go to EOSC. Fair enough. But can you give us a hint on what's the climate when around this budget discussions? What's the position of France, and whether you observe an alignment between countries or a lack of alignment?
So I start with Europe because this is a bit difficult to say what France wants. So
Really?
we had this policy paper where we expressed what we expect for EOSC under FP10. So with the usual things, we want the federation to grow, we want AI services, etc., etc. There were 3 points perhaps which are a bit not so obvious. We say we want to see the EOSC EU node being operated, managed by a legal entity or a consortium outside the Commission, so this independent. Then second, we think that the suitable form of governance is a tripartite governance. But just to remind you that we also now have a tripartite governance where the steering board is just an observer in the partnership board. This doesn't mean that we don't have a voice. So also for other setups, it would be possible to have a governance structure like this. And the third point we made was that FP10 shall provide co-fund mechanisms for EOSC. So we have now, in 27, we have this one call with co-fund action. This is a test case in principle where we see, are the countries really willing to put money on the table for supporting EOSC? And this brings me then to the discussion in France. As I mentioned, it's a bit complicated because we discuss on one side the overall MFF, we discuss all the partnerships, and we discuss EOSC. So we have to come up with an answer which satisfies everybody in the ministry. So I can perhaps say so much without losing my head when I come back to Paris. There is not a strong appetite in our ministry in France for a joint undertaking. There is interest in co-fund. We are discussing and looking very closely into that. That's as far as I can go. And I think what we really want to push is this competitive idea behind the partnerships, which I think is not a message which necessarily has arrived with every stakeholder in EOSC. That we have to not only convince ourselves and others that EOSC is the right thing to do, but that it ranks high in the number of partnerships. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
All right, Jean-David.
No, I mean, I think that maybe we can agree on one thing already now. I mean, EOSC needs a mid-term and a long-term vision. And if we agree on this, the first conclusion is that in any case, whatever the form will be, we need a partnership. So be it a joint undertaking or be it a work program-based partnership is another kind of discussion that for sure will take place, especially between the Parliament and the Council. Globally, as you said rightly, Volker, and more specifically for EOSC. But I think that if we can already agree, and I think it is the case, that we need a partnership because we need predictability, because we need to agree in particular on a robust governance, on a structure that is readable for everybody, the member states, I mean the policymakers, but also the users, the providers, the researchers. I think it's an already important starting point. Very good.
Klaus, can I come to you? And expanding the question, how do you see the role of the EOSC Association beyond 2027, especially in the context of a partnership?
As I mentioned in my short intervention, I see the EOSC as a socio-technological infrastructure, and the socio component is very important in that regard because it represents the users. And what we have to ensure is that the users will have a strong voice in a future governance. And the EOSC Association represents the voice of the community. And then, logically, the EOSC Association should have a strong voice in the future governance structure. It should not only have advisory or consultancy roles, it must be part of the governance structure of whatever instrument we will establish in the future. Otherwise, our voice will not be heard again, and that would be a great pity.
Very good. I suggest we wrap up here, actually. There are other questions, but that you may be able to address, to take directly to the speakers. So can you please join me and thank the three representatives of the tripartite.